Empress Michiko Shoda. In Japan, love stories from the royal family rarely end like a fairy tale. They're often stories of duty, sacrifice, and silent pain. But today, we're going to tell the remarkable story of a woman who changed the Japanese royal family forever. The first commoner to marry into the chrysanthemum throne, Empress Michiko. It all began on a tennis court. In the late 1950s, Crown Prince Akihito, Japan's future emperor, met a bright, elegant young woman named Michiko Shoda. They were playing tennis and Michiko beat the prince. That moment? It wasn't just a match. It was the beginning of a royal love story that defied centuries of tradition. Now, let's be clear, this wasn't just any love. Until that moment, Japan's royal family had never allowed someone from outside the aristocracy to marry into their sacred bloodline. After all, the Japanese emperor was believed to be a descendant of the gods. They married nobles. And often even their own cousins and relatives. But Michiko? She was a commoner. Her father was a wealthy businessman. Her grandfather had founded Nishin flour mills. She spoke fluent English, was highly educated, and had studied at one of Japan's top universities. She was modern, independent, a symbol of the new post-war Japan. But the palace didn't see her that way. When news broke that the crown prince wanted to marry Michiko, the backlash was immediate. Conservatives were furious. "She's just a flour miller's daughter," they said. And worse, her family was Christian. In the eyes of royal traditionalists, that was unforgivable. Even Prince Akihito's mother, Empress Kojin, was cold and dismissive. She made life in the palace very difficult for Michiko. Behind the polished walls of the imperial court, Michiko was constantly judged, criticized, and isolated. The pressure was so intense. She eventually suffered from temporary loss of speech, a condition brought on by stress and bullying. But Michiko? She didn't give up. Instead of letting tradition break her, she quietly, gracefully redefined what it meant to be empress. She raised her own children, a break from royal customs where nannies did everything. She insisted on living with her kids under the same roof, so they could grow up with love, not just formality. She also stood beside Prince Akihito during his diplomatic visits abroad, becoming not just his wife, but his partner on the world stage. And slowly, the people of Japan fell in love with her too. In fact, the country was swept up in what they called the Michiko boom. Her wedding in 1959 was broadcast nationwide. Women across Japan copied her fashion, her dresses, her elegance, her hairstyle. She became known as the Asian Princess Diana, a symbol of dignity, humility, and modern womanhood. But even after decades of loyal service, after raising 3 children and supporting Emperor Akihito through his historic abdication in 2019, Michiko made one final quiet rebellion. When asked if she wanted to be buried alongside her husband, like all royal couples before her, she gently declined. Michiko said, "I was born a commoner, and I will die a commoner. I never saw being empress as an honor. I only wanted to be Akihito's wife. That was enough for me." Her words stunned the nation. Some saw it as a protest against how deeply she'd been hurt in the palace. Others believed it was simply her final act of humility, a woman staying true to herself, even after living in the shadows of divinity. Empress Masako Owada. Born in 1963 in Tokyo, Masako Owada was no ordinary woman. Fluent in English, French and German, and educated at Harvard and Oxford. She stood out in Japan's male-dominated society as a brilliant and modern woman. Her ambition? A career in diplomacy? And she was well on her way joining Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a promising young diplomat. Many believed she could one day become Japan's ambassador to the United Nations. But fate had other plans. In 1986, Masako was introduced to Crown Prince Naruhito at a tea party at the Akasaka Palace. The prince was immediately smitten. Masako, however, was hesitant. She knew that marrying into the imperial family would mean giving up her career, her independence, even her voice. When Naruhito proposed for the first time, Masako declined. After nearly 6 years of pursuit, Prince Naruhito proposed again, this time with a promise. You might have fears and worries about joining the imperial family, but I will protect you with all my might for my entire life. Masako accepted. In 1993, Masako married Prince Naruhito and became crown princess. The media hailed it as a fairy tale, but the palace she entered was not one of freedom and romance. It was a golden cage. Under the strict rules of the Imperial Household Agency, a secretive government body that controls every aspect of royal life, Masako was stripped of her name, her identity, and her freedom. She was no longer a diplomat, no longer her own person. She became a symbol, expected to smile, wave, and bear an heir. The imperial succession law only allows male heirs, so the pressure was immense. For nearly a decade, Masako tried to conceive. Rumors of infertility circulated in tabloids. Behind the palace walls, she endured silent suffering. In 2001, she finally gave birth to a daughter, Princess Aiko. But instead of joy, the palace was filled with disappointment. A girl could not inherit the throne. Masako was blamed, criticized by traditionalists, and increasingly shut out of official duties. The once vibrant diplomat disappeared from public view. By 2004, Imperial Household Agency announced that Masako was suffering from a stress-induced adjustment disorder, a carefully chosen phrase that masked the emotional toll of years in isolation. She vanished from the public eye for over a decade, rarely seen, rarely heard. Behind the palace gates, she battled depression, anxiety, and the suffocating expectations of an ancient institution that refused to change. But throughout it all, one figure remained at her side, Prince Naruhito. Time and again, Prince Naruhito defended his wife. He broke palace silence to condemn the pressures placed on her, and he stood by her even when the public turned away. His promise, to protect her with all his might, was not forgotten. In 2019, Emperor Akihito abdicated, and Prince Naruhito ascended the throne. And Masako, after 26 years of pain, finally became Empress of Japan. As Empress Masako has slowly returned to public life, she has begun accompanying the emperor on foreign visits, speaking softly in multiple languages and gently reclaiming her identity. In 2024, she stunned the world by delivering a heartfelt speech in English to diplomats, reflecting her former self. It was a quiet act of defiance, a whisper of the brilliant woman she once was, and still is. Princess Mako Komoro? Born into one of the oldest royal families in the world, she had everything: status, elegance, and the admiration of a nation. But one thing made her different from the rest. She believed in following her heart, not tradition. In October 2021, Princess Mako gave up her royal title and privileges to marry a commoner, her college sweetheart, Kai Komoro. After a 3-year engagement filled with public scrutiny and controversy, she chose love over royalty and moved with her husband to New York City. Today, she's no longer a princess. She's simply Mako Komoro, a working wife in the bustling Big Apple. There was no royal wedding, no grand ceremony, and no 12-layered kimono like past princesses had worn. Instead, Mako and Kai quietly held a press conference and signed their marriage papers. Just like that, centuries of tradition were left behind. Her style changed too. Gone were the polished suits and formal hairstyles of her royal past. At the airport on her way to the US, Mako wore a simple black top and jeans. Her long black hair flowed freely, and she looked just like any other traveler. When airport staff asked to check her ID, she politely removed her mask, humble, calm, and kind. In New York, photographers spotted her strolling the streets with Kai, laughing and holding hands like newlyweds on a honeymoon. She wore a cozy fur coat, loose jeans and boots, relaxed and happy, breathing what she called the first air of true freedom in 30 years. The next day, the couple was seen shopping again, chatting and smiling. Mako wore the same outfit from the day before. No stylists, no royal glam. Just a woman enjoying her new life and marriage. But behind this peaceful image is a long journey of courage. Born in 1991, Mako is the eldest granddaughter of Emperor Emeritus Akihito. When she was born, her father gave her a national treasure, a protective sword, as a symbol of her royal future. Her name, Mako, was chosen to mean someone who lives naturally and sincerely. As a child, she was graceful and kind. She often accompanied her parents on royal visits and helped take care of her younger siblings, Princess Kako and Prince Hisahito. Many saw her as the ideal modern royal. But she was never just a pretty face in the palace. In 2011, after the devastating earthquake and tsunami in northeastern Japan, 19-year-old Mako secretly volunteered in the disaster zone. She didn't use her title. She simply said, "Even if I watch the news, I feel I need to be there to help the children." Her humility won hearts across the country. Later, Mako studied art in museums in the UK, staying in regular student dorms and never revealing her royal identity. No special treatment. Just another young woman chasing knowledge. Then came love. Mako met Kai Komuro at their university in Tokyo. She once said, "His smile is like the sun." He called her his moon, quiet, constant, always by his side. But their love story wasn't smooth. Kei's family became embroiled in financial scandals. The Japanese public turned against him, saying he wasn't fit to marry a princess. Protests erupted. The Imperial Household Agency postponed their wedding. Kai left for the US to study law. Mako stayed in Japan, facing a media storm alone. The pressure was so intense, she was diagnosed with complex PTSD. Yet, she never gave up. In 2021, despite everything, Mako and Kai married. She gave up her royal title, refused the nearly $1.3 million United States dollars allowance traditionally given to former royals, and took her husband's surname, Mako Komuro. Today, she works at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Those who've seen her say she looks happy, energized, focused, content. She's finally living life on her own terms. Princess turned commoner. A fairy tale rewritten.
Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Share it, because some stories are meant to be discovered together. And stay curious. I'll see you in the next chapter.